You know, think about this for a second. The numbers for your bank account. The surgery that can literally save someone's eyesight. Even the steel in those legendary swords you see in movies. What if I told you they all came from the same place? Well, today, we're diving into the incredible and often totally overlooked scientific legacy of ancient India. And trust me, it has shaped our world in ways you probably never imagined.
So let's just jump right in with a question for you. When you think of ancient India and its biggest contributions to the world, what's the first thing that pops into your head?
For a lot of people, it's spirituality. And that's a great answer, right? The philosophical and spiritual traditions that came out of the subcontinent have touched the lives of billions of people. Or maybe you thought of yoga, another fantastic one. It's become this huge global phenomenon for both physical and mental health. So yeah, definitely a foundational contribution.
You might even think of spices. I mean, they literally drove global trade and redrew maps for centuries. All of these answers are totally correct, but they're not the whole story, not even close.
Because what if the answer was something like modern medicine? Yeah, you heard me right. Let's talk about rhinoplasty, what most of us just call a nose job. This wasn't invented last century. Nope, it was first pioneered in India by a surgeon named Sushruta nearly 3,000 years ago. And believe me, that's just the tip of the iceberg. So to even understand how a surgeon could do something so complex back then, we need to dig a little deeper. We need to look at the language of all science, mathematics. And in ancient India, the story of math really starts with an obsession for precision.
And check out the timeline here. We're talking 3,500 years ago in the Indus Valley civilization. Archaeologists have actually found these ivory rulers, like the one from Mohenjo-daro, with decimal markings that are ridiculously accurate, down to a fraction of a millimeter. This just shows you right from the start, there was this drive for precise, rational measurement.
But, to really take things to the next level, math needed a better operating system. I mean, look at Roman numerals on the left. Can you imagine trying to multiply CXX3 by XLVI? It's a total nightmare, because it's just an additive system. Now, the early Indian Brahmi numerals on the right, they were a huge leap forward, a decimal system. But they were still missing one crucial piece of the puzzle, the one thing that makes big calculations possible, a placeholder.
And that missing piece was nothing, literally. The concept of zero, or shunya, in Sanskrit, which means void or empty. This was the game changer. It wasn't just a number itself, it was the placeholder that makes the entire decimal system work. I mean, the difference between 216 and 2016 is everything, and it's all because of this one elegant symbol.
And this idea didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It was developed over hundreds of years. You can kind of see its journey here. In 628 CE, the mathematician Brahmagupta was the first to really write down the rules for it. Then, we start seeing it carved into temple walls. Later on, another genius, Bhaskara, was even wrestling with wild ideas like what happens when you divide by zero. And eventually, this powerful new math traveled through the Arab world until Fibonacci brought it to Europe in his famous book.
And hey, don't just take my word for how important this was. Listen to the legendary French mathematician Pierre-Simon Laplace. He called it a profound and important idea that somehow escaped the genius of Archimedes and Apollonius, two of the greatest minds of the ancient Greek world. That's some serious praise.
This chart just illustrates it perfectly. It's a direct line of descent. Look at the numbers we use every single day, our modern numerals on the bottom row. You can trace them straight back through Arabic to the original Sanskrit symbols developed in India thousands of years ago. It's right there in front of us.
Okay, so let's see how that same kind of precise, systematic thinking got applied to something completely different, the human body. We're going to shift from the world of numbers to the very real physical world of medicine. It's time to get back to that guy we met earlier, Sushruta, who's widely known today as the father of surgery.
This part is it's absolutely mind-blowing. In his text, the Sushruta Samhita, he describes in painstaking detail how to perform cataract surgery. I mean, look at these steps. The patient is secured, the eye is warmed, a special tool, a lancet, is inserted at a very precise point. He describes moving it back and forth, hearing a specific sound, seeing a drop of water emerge. Then, the pupil is carefully scratched to push the slime of the cataract out of the way. This wasn't magic or guesswork. It was a repeatable, teachable, surgical procedure.
And this wasn't just about a few cool operations. He created a whole system.
He classified all surgical work into these clear categories. You have chidja for excision, cutting things out, and sivya for suturing. This is the hallmark of a truly scientific mind, organizing all this complex knowledge into a logical framework that you can actually teach to other people.
And Sushruta wasn't the only one. Around the same time, a physician named Charaka, who's considered the father of Ayurveda, was looking at the body in a different way. While Sushruta was focused on surgical intervention, Charaka was thinking about the body as a whole system. He was the first to really lay out the concepts of digestion, metabolism, and immunity, ideas that are, pretty central to medicine even today.
So, we've got mastery of numbers, mastery of the human body. What about mastery over the physical world itself? Let's switch gears and look at some incredible achievements in material science and engineering.
I'm sure you've heard of Damascus swords, right? They were legendary for being incredibly strong, super sharp. Well, the secret sauce, the metal that made them famous, was actually an Indian invention called woot steel. This stuff was being produced in southern India way back around 300 BC. It was a super high-quality, high-carbon steel, and it was famous all across the ancient world.
And if you want proof that's still standing today, just look at the Iron Pillar of Delhi. This thing is a 6-ton monster. It's 1,600 years old. It's been sitting outside this whole time, and it hasn't rusted. How is that possible? Modern science tells us the secret is its high phosphorus content, which creates this thin, protective layer on the surface. That wasn't just a lucky accident. That was brilliant applied chemistry.
This incredible skill with materials was also backed up by some deep thinking about what they were actually made of. Centuries before John Dalton in Europe, an Indian philosopher named Kanada was proposing an atomic theory. He actually argued that everything in the world was made up of tiny, indivisible particles he called anu, or atoms. He was thinking about the fundamental building blocks of the universe itself.
So when you start to put all these pieces together, the math, the medicine, the metallurgy, the philosophy, you start to see this picture of an amazing scientific culture, one that has left a huge, undeniable mark on our modern world.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's that when we talk about ancient India's gifts, the conversation has to include the decimal system and zero, which are the bedrock of all our computers. It has to include pioneering surgery that could restore sight and rebuild a person's face. And it has to include advanced materials and some of the very first theories about the atomic nature of our world.
And really, looking at all this incredible innovation in one place leaves you with a pretty big question. How many other fundamental parts of our modern world have their roots in ancient knowledge that we're only now starting to rediscover and truly appreciate? It really makes you think. Thanks for joining me.